We good? Okay, cool. So we're live on Facebook now and ready to get started. So welcome everyone to our community Zoom on Wednesday. Happy to see you all here and a few new faces, which is fun. So we're going to be talking a little bit tonight about a couple of really good things, but mainly going to tie it a little bit to our element number 16 on how to deal with highly addictive foods, which we all know a thing or two about. But before we get into that, I really wanted to, I'm excited to announce or introduce our testimonial tonight. She has been a rock star from day one. Really just has the mindset that I wish that, I'll just say it, that I wish that every single client coming to this program would have. Just 100%, going for it mindset, and it's really worked well for her, and she has a lot of really great things to share. So I'd like to introduce Julie Alvarez, and you can just unmute yourself and take it away, Julie. In her awesome matching red glasses and shirt.
Is it possible for me to share my screen? Because I did put together a couple slides.
Oh, it can she if she's not not one of the moderators?
Do I just do the share screen at the bottom?
I'm gonna make you a co-host. Okay.
Cool.
Hold on one sec. Let me find you.
So while Mitzi does that, my name is Julie Alvarez. I live in the Orlando, Florida area, and I work for Advent Health as the ED Nurse Internship Program Manager. So I run all of our two different programs that we run for new graduate nurses that come into the emergency department, as well as experienced nurses that are transitioning into the emergency department. And so my passion is to help people achieve their dreams.
You're all set to share.
Perfect. Let's see here. Here we go. All right. Are you all seeing my screen?
Not yet.
No.
Yes.
Not yet. You might have to choose which screen you're sharing, I think it.
Let's see here. Do I share? Let's try it this way. Screen one.
And then click the share button. Click
Yeah.
the share button. You have to click share after you choose your screen. Lower right corner says share.
Share. Okay.
There you go.
Something's happening. Cool.
All right. Now, do you see my screen?
Yes.
We do.
Excellent. I, as an educator, I do teach online classes. However, we exclusively use the Teams platform. So sharing on Zoom is new for me. So this is a fun way for me to grow a skill as well. So that's a little bit about who I am. And I just wanted to share my before and a little bit about my journey and where we are right now. And so this is my before picture. Actually, it is from November 6th of last year. And yes, you can see I'm heavy, but the things that were actually much more difficult for me was how I was feeling. And I'm sure all of you can relate to this, but I was tired all the time. I was taking naps pretty much every single day to just get through my day. I've had migraines since I was a small child, but instead of having just a few a month, I was having almost every single day I was having a migraine. And one of the things that was the hardest was my family. I have a actually now 13-year-old daughter and a 16-year-old daughter, and my husband. They would want to do fun things. And of course we are in the COVID world, but Florida canceled COVID. So we have other things that we can still do around here. And they would want to go hiking or go and have some sort of family adventure, but I didn't have the energy to be able to join them on the activities. And it was into a pretty negative feedback cycle for me where I didn't have energy and I would need a burst of energy. So I would use food to gain energy and cope with my emotions because I was frustrated and angry with myself. And even though I'm in my 40s, I was starting to have some pretty serious health conditions and needing to see an endocrinologist and other specialists that really I shouldn't need to be spending quality time with quite yet in my life. And really the final straw for me is I love to do children's ministries at church. And I was asked to lead out in the 4 or 5-year-old class at church. And the first week that I did that, I was there trying to lead some songs with actions. And yes, I was wearing a mask, and yes, the room was hot, but I got short of breath. I was sweating and I couldn't do something that was really special, important to me. And that was finally my why of I have to do something different. And so I had the opportunity to connect with Heidi over Facebook and sent her a message and said, I'm ready to go. I want to start right now. She called me up and we had a conversation and we did our health assessment. And I told her that I was 100% committed that if I was going to fail, it was going to be because I had done everything right and I still didn't succeed, no matter what. Everything. Tell me what I need to do and I will do it all the way. There's a verse in the Bible that says, whatever your hand finds to do it with all your might. And that was what I told Heidi I was ready to do. This was not something that I was going to test or try, but I was all in. And of course, my box came like all of yours, and it had in it our life book and our habits of health book. And I just want to say that up front, yes, we all want to lose weight, but I wanted to get myself into a place where not just to get off the pounds, but how do I successfully change my approaches and my behaviors and my coping mechanisms so that as the pounds go off, they stay off for good. And those are the tools that I found right off the bat, jumping into my life book on day one, every day committing to going through the steps and the micro habits and figuring out how can I benefit and find the success that I'm looking for. And I just wanted to share my why with you that I wrote in my book on that first day. But my why being I want to thrive, I want to be awake, I want to have energy, feel good, I want to show up for the party, and I want to be a great mom and wife. And those things I've copied and I've pasted and I put in my car and I put in my bathroom and I put in the kitchen and I've texted them to my friends so that every time I start feeling discouraged or struggling, I just look back and say, this is my why, and I'm 100% all in. And in that all-in process, one of the things that my husband, bless his heart, did was he said, what do you need to be successful? And I said, I need to be in a different environment. I need to go somewhere where I can commit and do this without distractions. I want to go to the beach. And he's like, okay, you can go to the beach. And I said, I can go to the beach. So yes. So he was able to, here in Florida with COVID, there's all these timeshare resorts that are just sitting empty. And so we were able to find a really excellent discount price for a month for me to be able to go to the beach, which is about an hour from our house, and stay in a little condo and just focus and be all in. I'm working from home most of the time. I was able to come back home regularly to see my family. They came and stayed with me. If I had a live class that I needed to go teach, I could go do that. But the rest of the time, I didn't have the everyday distractions. And I know not everyone is able to do that, but for me, that was one of the keys for success of being 100% all in for those first 30 days.
Julie, do you want to switch the slides? I think you've got slides of the beach and stuff.
I do. Are they not showing?
Yeah, you have to change the slide. You have to change the slide. You have to click.
Yeah.
There?
Yeah, there you go.
That's interesting because on my view, it has the full screen sharing. So there's my slide with my beach. I'm not sure why it's not showing. The other. So there it is. Every day I went and took a sunrise picture. I went walking, but I was all in, and these are the tools that are provided for us that I committed to, going through our micro habits. And I love the fact that the goal is to set the smallest thing that you can do 100% of the time. And so whenever people ask me, what are you doing? I say, I'm drinking 6 glasses of water. On my worst day, I can always, I'm not supposed to drink 8, but I can drink 6, 100% every day. And on my good days, I'm always going to drink 8. But that way, I've always in the past, I'm a really high achiever, and I would set my goals, which would seem reasonable and were reasonable 90% of the time. But those 10% of the bad days, I couldn't achieve even reasonable. And so by micro habiting and setting my goals much lower, I'm gonna do 5,000 steps a day, even though mostly I've always done 10. I know 100% of the time, no matter how bad my day is, I can achieve this and this and this. And I'm also kind of a numbers nerd, and I figured out exactly from November 7 what day it was going to be day 66. I was going to have my 66 days. My micro habits were going to be installed, and then what I was going to be doing next. And then, Heidi's been such a tremendous support. I love our tool of our Stop Challenge Choose, and I have really learned to use that. I had a situation in my home recently, and I was sitting, my husband was talking to me, and I was lying in the bed and I had my eyes closed, and he's like, "You're not listening to me." And I said, "Yes, I am. I'm stopping and I'm challenging and I'm choosing. Stopping and I'm challenging and I'm choosing." And I've been able to really find that to be one of our most effective tools. But I think for myself, what has helped me be the most successful is to set that small goal of being that 1% better every day, and recognizing this as an entire journey that we're on, rather than the whole thing has to happen tomorrow. I know probably like all of you, I see people posting on Facebook, "I only lost 3 pounds in my first week. I think I'm going to quit." And, looking at the big picture of a little tiny bit of every step over time gets us to where we are going in our journey. And it's not just about this piece, but this as we go. Another fun thing that I did because I was at the beach is I went on iTunes, and I went to the podcast for the last 2 years for Optavia, and I actually have listened to every single Optavia podcast for the last 2 years from all of the Wednesday night meetings, and found those to be very encouraging and inspiring, and building of those tools and kind of keeping me focused in that mindset as I've been moving forward. And then for myself, I personally have a Fitbit watch, and I use the Fitbit app, and being able to have that tracking to be able to give me, even if I don't see a change in a number that I would like, I still have a way to say, "Oh yeah, well, I did go 60,000 steps last week. I might not have a number on the scale of pounds wise, but here are some other numbers that say that I'm accomplishing health." And then I've brought along a couple of good friends and been able to travel this journey with them, so that we can encourage each other and share recipes and have each other over to eat and understand each other's language. And I always think when we are able to travel a journey with friends, we're able to be more successful. So the how is provided, but I would say for me, my how is 100% all in. And here in Daytona, or in Florida, we don't really get to see sunsets on the beach. These are all sunrises from getting up on my morning. And every single one of my sunrises in these pictures represents a different day. And that for me represents our journey, and how every one of our days is a little bit different, but each has its own special beauty within it. Here's my journey. You can see at each point along the way. Yes, I have been successful with my weight loss, in addition to the mind change and the ability to get more sleep and more energy. But I know a lot of people focus on the weight loss, so I did want to give you a chance to see that progress in the side-by-side picture form. But here's my now. I started with my before and here's my now. I have enough energy I can get through every day without taking a nap. My blood pressure is normalized. My endocrinologist is thrilled because I'm no longer pre-diabetic. My insulin levels have come down. He had wanted me to be on this really serious medication. And I said, give me 3 months. And when I went back and my insulin levels were normal and better than what they would have probably done on the medication, he's like, whatever you're doing, keep doing it and come and see me in 3 months. This morning, I accidentally ran 61 minutes and did 5.2 miles of running. Prior to this program, I was barely being able to walk 2 miles in half an hour because it was so much work to move my body along. My headaches are less. I'm going hiking and family time this weekend. My 13-year-old is going to be part of a choir that's singing God Bless America at the Daytona 500 to kick it off. And I'm spending family time. I'm not staying home recuperating or resting, but I'm out there with my family. So my now, and then my next steps, what's going to happen next? I'm having fun setting goals because now it doesn't seem like it's so far away that I'm going to be able to succeed. I feel like because I've had the successes that I've had to this point, I know that I can keep being successful. It's that the snowball is rolling down the hill and picking up speed. And so I already have a plan to reach my goal weight and to go through transition and to keep building my micro habits of health and to do fun activities that I just didn't even think could be something that I could do, that I only had been admiring. Other people are cheering them on, but I am going to be able to go out and live that full life that was only a dream just a few months ago. And so now it's my opportunity to consider how am I going to pay it forward and help other people achieve their full and optimal health. So I am very happy to answer questions or to provide encouraging support or whatever that I can do to help each person also continue down their own path to full and optimal health following this great plan that gives us everything and not just weight loss. And that's my story.
Oh my goodness. That was so amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. That was really awesome hearing it from the beginning. I can't tell, like I can't see, oh, there, that's what the screen sharing was throwing me off. Oh my goodness, we're all giving you a round of applause. Seriously, look at the chat. You've got some really good feedback. But thank you for sharing. I knew that what you had to share was going to be more important than what I was going to say anyway. So we'll just, wrap it up here. But yeah, what I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about tonight is something that you may or may not be dealing with right now, but you will be dealing with again, and I know you've dealt with in the past. And it's the topic of addictive foods and what to do about them. And to be able to answer that question for you, I want to help you with some information that will help you know what to do about it. So if you haven't gotten this far in the life book, that's okay. We're going to jump ahead for a minute and do a little quiz. So going to try to, if you guys have just something to jot down or even put it in on your phone or something, the answers to these questions, there's 10 questions and the answer is either going to be rarely, occasionally, or daily. So if you deal with this rarely, you write a little R. If it's occasionally, write an O. If it's daily, put a D, okay? And we're just gonna go through these kind of quickly. So the first one is, I find it difficult to control how much I eat. Is that rarely, occasionally, or daily? I'm gonna go ahead and do this same time. Number 2, I crash in the afternoon and have difficult waking up in the morning. Rarely, occasionally, or daily. 3, I have cravings for specific foods. 4, I suffer from moodiness, headaches, or fogginess. If I'm going too fast, just somebody yell at me. Number 5, When I only eat a moderate amount of food, I am not satisfied. Again, it's rarely, occasionally, or daily. Number 6, I feel guilty after eating. Number 7, I spend a considerable amount of time thinking about food. Oh my goodness, that's definitely daily. Number 8, I eat even if I'm not hungry because I crave a food. Nine, I eat large amounts of food and feel powerless to stop. And the last one, I crave carbohydrates like pasta, bread, white rice, or desserts. Is that rarely, occasionally, or daily? So just to add up, find the category that has the most. If you have a category that you have more than 6, say if you have more than 6 in the rarely, you are in the low susceptibility group. So congratulations, we'll talk about you in a second. If you have more than 6 in the occasionally category, you are in the moderate susceptibility group. And anyone that has more than 6 in the daily group, you would be in the high susceptibility group. And what does that mean? Basically, it gives us a picture of how to treat addictive foods, but also it's a genetic thing, whether you're in the low or moderate or high can't say that word. Anyway, what group you're in, it's very genetically linked. So there's not a lot that you can do about what group that you're in, but it does give us a lot of insight into, what we can do about it. Personally, I'm in the kind of right between moderate and high. I'm definitely not one of the highest, but I'm right there in between. I asked my husband, who is clearly, without taking the quiz, definitely in the low group, okay? He's never worried about weight a day in his life. I asked him what I should share with people about this topic, and he says, well, don't buy the food in the first place. And if you do buy it, don't buy it at Costco, because you don't need that much. And I said, well, that's great advice and all, but probably not going to fly for this group. So I said, you can just get out of here with your advice. But I mean, that is good advice. I mean, obviously, if you are going to partake, better to do it in smaller quantities. I won't throw that out completely. But it's really important to know what your sensitivity level is, because right now you may be on the 5 and 1, and that's all well and good, and that controls what types of foods you eat, and it's a safety net. Is there something higher than high? I don't know. I think it's just high, but you can treat that group very carefully. But if you are, in the future, 5 and 1 is not forever, and it hasn't always been forever. So I know that everyone's dealt with this before. That's probably part of the reason why you got in the place that you were to start with, and it's something that we're going to deal with again. So it's important to start thinking about how you will treat these foods. And I know we're running short on time, but just a refresher, leptin is the chemical that tells your brain you're not hungry anymore. Insulin blocks leptin. So the more foods you eat that are high sugar, high glycemic, we're talking about sugars of all kinds and processed flour, things like that, produces insulin, blocks leptin. So they did those study on mice and gave them the control group high glycemic foods, and they immediately went on the 8 and 8 program. They just ate and ate, and then they didn't do anything. They sat and didn't move. Okay, so it was clearly a change in behavior, and they actually studied the ones in the different susceptibility groups too. And the ones that were in the high group, they just came to that little trigger before the food even came. They were just back for more. So what happens is not only that your leptin is blocked, you can't tell that you're full, so you continue to want more and more, but it also causes your brain to light up, just like as if you were taking cocaine or heroin, like the same areas in the brain even. So if you eat something that's in your trigger group and your brain immediately says, I'm going to need some more of that. That's what tells you that that's that trigger. And we know what when that happens. It's like you know exactly what those foods are without me even bringing them up. And everyone has their different, some people it's the carby snacks like the Cheetos or the Cheez-Its or the potato chips. Other people it's the I don't know, pizza or ice cream or brownies. Okay, so everybody has their different things, but not everybody is in this high susceptibility group. Does what I'm saying make sense? Like, so the people that are in the high susceptibility group, honestly, the best way to treat it is to keep that trigger turned off by any means necessary. Don't reintroduce the foods. That's like the best advice I could possibly give you. Keep it out of your house. Keep it away from your vicinity, because the second that trigger gets turned on, that's what's going to tell you that you need more of it, and it's going to just continue like a cycle. And then if you're in the moderate or low, still be pretty careful with that, because everyone is susceptible in some way to sugar, and it's something that we can't control that. So it's something that, you're still going to want to be pretty careful on. I think what I'm going to have to do is the rest of my talk, I'm going to have to talk about maybe posting it in Healthy Friends. I don't know if you guys would like that, but what I have here, and it's not a lot that I'm missing, but kind of talked about some alternatives for everyone's favorite comfort foods. So like, we get attached a lot to the idea of like, can I go back to old habits? Because we attach feelings and emotions to food. Like, we do that our whole lives. We celebrate with food, and we associate good times with foods we love, right? And so the idea of having to eliminate those, it feels like something's being taken away from us. But instead of looking at it that way, I have some suggestions for how to like make some changes. So not to go take something completely away, but choose healthier options of the same category types of foods, and how to like move forward after the 5-in-1 with foods that can be healthy and satisfying. So I think what I'll do is just post a little document on Healthy Friends as a follow-up to this, unless you guys just want me to share a few things. What do you think? I know it's 8:30 right now, and I don't want people to miss out on the webinar.
I say keep going. That's my vote. But
Okay. Well, I can share just a couple things. We can go a few minutes over. I don't know. Is that okay? Okay. Well, I'll do that. And then Mitzi, can you share the link to the Habits of Health webinar in the chat? Cool. So we can have that. Awesome. I just now saw the chat. Okay. Oh, do not apologize. That was the best part of this webinar. Okay. So, for carby snacks, there really are some good healthy things that you can buy. I have a website. If anybody wants this, it's www.eatthis.com/crackers. And it gives you a whole list of actually healthy crackers that are much better than the typical stuff you see on the shelf. And this is for after 5-in-1, but things that won't trigger that, insulin jump just as much as something else that you might buy. Ice cream, actually, there are quite a few really good options for healthier ice cream these days. And I love that. None of them are absolutely perfect and something that I would say they're health food, but at the same time, there's some really good options. I know that Halo Top has some better options for lower carb ice cream. Wink frozen desserts, maybe a little too healthy. I'm just going to go ahead and say that. It was pretty healthy tasting. But most of the brands that like Ben & Jerry's has a really healthy, and Breyer's Delights actually has a very healthier line. So if you're going to treat yourself occasionally, you can do that with a little healthier option now and then after the 5-in-1. Okay, it's important to have balance. My favorite thing is to get healthy dessert recipes and try new things that are like just healthier than the typical like regular brownies. I still do use fuelings. Occasionally I'll have a Optavia brownie at night instead of going to something that's not quite as healthy. So that is a tool that I have. But I also love making stuff. Like I have this vegan chocolate mousse that's amazing. So, and pretty healthy. So if anybody wants any of my recipes, just let me know. Of course, pizza, we all know how to healthify that. We've got the, cauliflower crust we can do, or even thin crust is better than, deep dish. If you do partake in pizza in the future. And lots of veggies on it, of course. You can really healthify pizza. Of course, burgers and fries, it's everyone's favorite, comfort food. You can always do your burger with a lettuce wrap or even make your own fries. Air fryer is a great way to control the amount of oil that goes on your fries. And then, of course, choose portions that aren't like, half your plate, do your quarter of your plate, like Dr. A says, with your starch for that meal. And that's totally fine on maintenance, right? Yeah. Okay, that was most of what I wanted to cover. Alcohol, I did want to say a word on that. There really is no healthy amount. Alcohol is not considered a health food in any stretch of the imagination. But there are some better options like beer. You would want to go light or go lower on carbs. Liquor is the lowest carbs. And there is some benefit to some wine daily. There is some benefit. Okay, there's lots of studies that show that. But of course, you have to take into account the sugars. Peggy's laughing at me. Anyway, I am happy to answer any questions that you guys have, or we can wrap it up and go on to the Habits of Health call, but I appreciate y'all being on here. Feel free to unmute yourself if you have any questions. Or if you just want to say bye or tell Julie how awesome she's doing.
Julie, you're amazing. I wish I could pull off the red glasses. That's what I got to say.
That was amazing, Julie. Thank you so much for sharing that. Very inspiring.
Thank you, guys. Really
Heidi,
nice.
maybe you could post the, Julia was awesome. And Heidi, maybe you could post some of the links in the Habits of Health, but really clarify that it's for after 5 and 1.
This all is for after 5 and 1. This was because the 5 and 1 does not last forever. And we have to start thinking about that before we're right there. And, oh no, what do I do, right? So there's a transition plan to follow. The coaches will help you through that. But in the future, there's a lot more room for a lot more thought and a lot more decision making. So hopefully this is helpful for that time. All right.
So I'm going to stop recording and wish everyone a good night.
All right. Have a good night,
Thank you,
everyone.
Heidi. Thank you, Julie.
Julie,
Night,
you're
thank you.
awesome.
Bye,
Thank you
everyone.
for everything. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Yeah, bye. Have a good week.